Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in amma ba'du. First of all, let thanks to our God Allah Subhanahu wa taala, because of His blessing we can gather here to make this video. And secondly, salam and salam never forget to deliver to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because who has brought us from the darkness side to the lightness side. Alright, first of all, the Honorable, our lecturer, Mem Farida, as the lecturer of Translation English to Indonesian course, and I love the audience that I appreciate. So we are from the group 5. We're gonna present the material about translation, procedure, strategy, and method. So before we start our presentation today, so I will introduce the member of this group. The first one is Winda Khofifah as the first speaker, and next one is Devi, Santi, Sari, Devi as the last speaker, and of course me, Dimas, as the second speaker and the moderator in this presentation session. So without further ado, let's start to the first speaker, to Winda Khofifah. The time and the screen are yours.
Okay, thanks to moderator. I will explain about the technical procedure. In the technical procedure is 3 procedures. The first is analysis of the source and target of language, and the second, a thorough study of the source language text before making attempts translate, and the third, making judgments of the semantic and synthetic approximation. Okay, translation study is by Crane's Japanese translation strategy is translation potential, conclusion, place of solving concrete translation problem in the framework, concrete translation tasks, and the Sugionaut believes that there are lets the global strategies employment, the translating without interruption for as long as possible, and the correcting surface error immediately, leaving are the monitoring for qualitative or stylistic error in the text of the revision step. Translation procedure, strategy, and method. The translation procedure as devised by NIDA are follow. The first is technical produce, and the first analysis of source and target language, and the next a thorough study of the source language text before making attempt translation it, and the making judgment of the semantic and synthetic approximation, and the next horizontal procedure. Horizontal procedure is constant revolution of the attempt made, contrasting it with the existing available translation of the same text done by translation, and checking the text communicative effectiveness by asking for the target language and readers to evaluate accuracy and the effectiveness of studying the direction. And the next procedure of translating culture-specific concept. The first is making up the new word, and the next explain about the meaning of the SL expression, translating, and the third preserving of the SL term impact, and the fourth opting for a word and which the same similar to has relevance in the term. Strategy of translating allusion. The first is retention of the name, using the name as such, using the name editing some gradients, using the name editing detailed explanation, for instance, and the footnote. And the next, replacement of the name by other, replacing the name by other as L name, replacing name by TL name. And the next, omission of the name, omitting the name but transferring the sensor other for its stand by common, omitting math illusion together. Okay, I think enough for my explanation today. I will give back to the moderator.
Alright, thank you for Winda Khofifah for the explanation. So it's time for me to explain and present about method of translation. So in this session, I will explain about 5 methods in translations. The first one is word for word translation. The second one is literal translation. The third one is faithful translation. The fourth one is free translation. And the last one is semantic translation. So what is word for word translation? So basically in which the source language word order preserved and the word translated silently by their most common meanings out of context. So it attempts to directly translate each word in the source language into its corresponding equivalent in the target language. So this method is prioritized formal accuracy over naturalness and fluency in the target language. So there are strengths and a weakness in this word, in this translation. The first one about strengthness. The first one is it can be used for technical text where precise meaning it's crucial. So it's help to language learner, basically for a beginner, understand a bunch of vocabulary. So the last one about strengthness is it can reveal interesting linguistic difference between language. So about the weakness, so often produce a natural and awkward sounding result in target language. So the short language said like this, but the target language is not matched with search and target language. So another weakness is ignore grammar. So ignore grammar or syntax or idioms. So basically idioms is not, it can be translated with word for word. So it's gonna be weird. So for example, to translate word for word, so you have to pay attention about this word, about this sentence I mean. Her mouth is parched. So you have to know every meaning of the every word. So her it's mean dia, so mouth, mulut is adalah, and parched, kering. So we can translate this with mulut dia adalah kering. So we have to translate word for word. Okay, you understand till this? So the next one is faithful translation. So what is faithful translation? So basically faithful translation attempts to produce the precise contextual meaning of the original within contrasting of the target language grammatical structures. So it aims to convey the exact meaning of the source language text into the target language, while also striving for naturalness and readability in the target language. So it involves careful consideration of both literal meaning of the word and the overall context of the text, including cultural reference and idiomatic expression. So but the key character in faithful meaning is accuracy, naturality, respect, and context flexibility. For example, it's raining cat and dog. So we can, in this sentence, we can translate word for word. Why? Because it's gonna be weird. if we translate it word by word, so we have to translate it with faithful translation. So it's gonna be mean hujan itu deras. Okay, I think I missed the second one. Okay, I will explain back about the second one is literal translation. So what is literal translation? So literal translation in which the source language grammatical construction are converted to their nearest till equivalent, but the lexical word are again translated slightly out of context. So there is strengthness and weakness in this translation. So the first one is strengthness. So technical accuracy for technical term with direct equivalent can be accurate. For example, you wanna translate computer, it's gonna be very simple. You're gonna say computer. So if you want to translate doctor, you just say doctor. So like this, it's strengthness of literal translation. So about the weakness, the weakness is a natural language. So literal translation often sound awkward, just like word for word translation. So cultural misunderstanding and student structure mismatch. So for example, C has a green thumb. So in literal, we're gonna say dia memiliki jempol hijau. So it's gonna be very weird, ya, literal. So in this sentence, I think we have to translate with faithful. So it's mean dia pandai berkebun. Alright, that's all about literal translation. Okay, we move to free translation. So what is free translation? So free translation, it produces the target language text without the style from and content of the original. It takes more flexible approach to convey the general meaning and overall intent of the source text, prioritizing naturalness and readability in the target language over strict adherence to the original wording or structure. So, but the key characteristic in free translation is prioritizing meaning and style, adapting to target culture, using idiomatic and rearrange sentence. For example, don't give up the ship. So it means jangan menyerah sampai akhir. It's free translation. Okay, the last one is semantic translation. So it's very simple in this session. So semantic translation in which differ from faithful. It's different with faithful. Different but same, but not same. Which differ from faithful translation only insofar as the mistake more accurate of the aesthetic value of the source language. So, for example, her mouth is part. So in word for word, we translate like this. Mulut dia kering, but in semantic, it's mean dia haus. So I think that's all about my explanation about method of translation. So the next presenter is Santi Sari Devi. To Santi Sari Devi, the time and screen are yours.
Thank you to moderator. I will explain about the proposed several procedures for translating culture-specific concept by Gradler. So the first is making up a new word. So this involves creating a new term in the target language that captures the essence of the culture-specific concept. So the second is explaining the meaning of the source language. It is instead of a direct translation, the translator provides an explanation or description of the meaning of the source language expression. So the third is preserving the source language term intake. It is this approach involves keeping the culture specific concept in the original source language without attempting to translate it.
And the last is opting for a word in the target language. The translator select a term in the target language that serves similarities or relevance to the culture-specific concept in the source language. So these strategies address the challenge of translating concept deeply rooted in a particular culture, allowing for flexibility in conveying meaning across language. So I think that's all about my explanation.
Alright, I think that's all about our explanation about translation, technique, method, and procedure. Okay, if you guys have a question, please give your question in the comment section. So yeah, I think that's enough. Thank you for watching us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.